Hello and welcome to part 3 of my web development series. Today we're going to be finishing up the last little bit of HTML. If you haven't seen part 2, I'll put a link on screen and in the description, and then after that we'll be moving on to CSS. So I've gone ahead and cleared our document except for an unorganized list and an organized list. We'll go ahead and open that in Chrome. I mentioned that you could change the bullet points, and I'll be demonstrating that here in a second. So you have normal bullet points, circles that are filled through, and then you have an organized list, which is numbers. So if you want to change the bullet points, similar to how we define background color in the body, you can go into the unorganized list and do type equals and then define a type of circle, and you'll get hollow circles. And if you define a type of square, you'll get square bullet points. Inside each LI you can also change the type. So if you go in here and you do type equals circle and refresh the page, and you'll have an individual one changed. So you can do that for every single LI. So let's go and let's do this real quick. So if you want to, you can copy the entire UL and paste it inside of another UL. So you'll have a list inside of a list, which will allow you to do this. Here, let me make the look a little nicer, and then there you go. So this will allow you to have a list inside of a list, which has like a drop down like this, and you can keep doing that, but there's not really much reason to. It looks kind of ugly without any CSS, but you can do that. So let's change the type in OL now. So you do type equals, and then if you want to have capital letters like A, B, and C, you can do capital A, save it, A, B, C. If you want to have lowercase, you can do lowercase a. Refresh that, you got lowercase letters. And if you want to do Roman numerals, capital Roman numerals, do a capital I, and it will do 1, 2, 3 in Roman numerals. And then if you want to do lowercase, you just do lowercase I. And if you want to go back to 1, you can delete type, or you can just put a 1 in here and it'll be 1, 2, and 3 again. So there's one more type of list I should just tell you about. I think this is the last type, but this is called a description list. You do DL for description list, you close that, and then inside that you want to do DT, and this is going to be our first piece of data, and then you're going to describe this. This is a description list is for describing each item. So call this item 1, and then we'll do DD for the description, and describe it, say item 1 description. I can't type apparently. There you go. Alright, so description for item 1, and then you copy and paste that, and you can see how it looks. So there's your 2 items that'll be described. So that should be pretty much it for lists. I also mentioned that you could change the way tables look, and I said you could do that in CSS, but you can actually do a little bit of modifying tables in HTML, so we'll do that now. We'll create a table tag. If you don't know anything about tables, go ahead and check out the previous tutorial. Like I said, link at in the description and at the start of the tutorial. So create our table, make some rows, put some data inside that. Let's do 2 things with data. Call this item 1 like usual, and item 2. So if we save that, refresh the page, you'll see we have our 2 items listed. Actually, let's go ahead and copy the table row and put another table row in, and then we'll change these to headers so it'll be bold and centered. And then we'll paste that in there. Refresh the page. Okay, so now we can actually start modifying the table. So go into the table tag, and we can do, for a border, we can do border equals 2, and then let's go ahead and also give it a width real quick. So we can do a width equal to, you can define a pixel amount with that, or you can just put a percentage sign at the end of it, and it'll go to a percentage of the page. We're doing 100%, so it's full page, except for a small gap because of margins. But there you go, you have our table with a border. We can do another thing, which is cell padding. Set that equal to 2, refresh the page. So that changes the size a little bit. And then you can do cell spacing, which I'll set equal to 2. Also, real quick, I'll just make this 20 because it was kind of hard to see. So there you go, you can see the big difference there. So if you want to check any of those things out, go ahead and try it yourself. There you go, that's a thicker border. But that's the gist of tables in HTML. I'll go ahead and talk about del, which is delete. So this is a del tag right here. As far as I know, this is the only way to strike through something with HTML currently. All the other ways are depreciated, which means they are no longer available in HTML5 but were used in previous versions of HTML. So as you can see, that's been struck through. You can also do something called insert or INS step, and this is going to do an underline, which seems kind of useless because it's pretty similar to U for underline, but these are meant to represent in a list that you're deleting an item, crossing it out, or adding an item, inserting it. So this is not really that useful for many things. I don't think there's anything else that special about it, but del is pretty useful for striking through things. You can use it in quite a bit of stuff, or you can do it in CSS, which I'll teach later. So that's del and insert or INS. Another tag is span. This actually does nothing in HTML, but once you move on to CSS, it's quite useful for modifying single pieces of information. So there's span. If you deleted this, I'm pretty sure it looked the exact same. Yep, the exact same. So span does nothing at all. So it seems useless, but like I said, in CSS it's nice to wrap an element in a span and just give it a little bit of properties and stuff like that. So you can like define it as your own type of element. So instead of B for bold, you could have span that bolds and underlines and italicizes all at once. Another element that's kind of similar is div. This is meant for encasing things. So you'd have maybe inside of a div you'd have a paragraph tag. This is basically how you structure your page once you start modifying with CSS. Inside of it you could have a paragraph tag, and inside of a div you could also have another div. So you could have like a main div wrapping all your other divs. This way you could style your divs one by one, and in CSS you can give different elements IDs or classes, so that way you can have all these divs with a different ID or class that you can call to. Put some text in there so you can actually see that real quick. So there you go, that's a div with a paragraph inside of it with some text. Get more into that once we get into CSS. Right now it seems pretty useless, but it's quite good. And then one last thing, well, two things I would like to cover. This is probably the most confusing thing you're going to learn. So strong and emphasize, or EM. So strong looks like bold, and EM looks like italicized. And I'm also going to put a break in between those, so that'll break down a line. So it looks like it's bolding, which it is, and it looks like it's italicizing, which it is, but it's more than that because we already have B and I for bold and italicize. So the best way to think of this is, for example, if you couldn't see and you were on a page and you had something reading the page out to you, instead of just the text being bold, you wouldn't know that if you were blind. But strong would emphasize that text. Instead of saying bold, it would say bold in more of a strong manner. So it would speak in a bold tone, etc. That's the same for italicized. That's about all I'm going to show with HTML. If I do use any other elements in upcoming videos for CSS or JavaScript or whatever, I will explain those in those videos. But if you want to read the rest of the tags, you should check the link in the description. If I have not explained depreciation properly, you should remember every time you're looking at a tag that it may not be used in HTML5, so Google it and check to make sure it's not depreciated. Which means it is not going to be working in HTML5. It was used in a previous version. Anyways, thanks for watching. Give this video a like, subscribe, all that stuff.